that?
Okay, last week,
What they painted, or is that the color?
the color, you mean this here?
Well, no, it looks like the wood, it looks nice brownish.
Oh no, it's just starting to show its age, and the camera picks up a slightly different color than the reality.
Well, that's good.
They say a camera doesn't lie, but you don't believe it. It does lie. We worked last week mainly on the back hip, and in this general area here, come down to the udder and the teat. And if you noticed, I've left there's lots of wood there. I haven't worked it in yet. The reason for that is we have to shape this leg. Get this leg coming down here, and in order to do that, we got to get the foot or the hoof coming here. So rather than get in a complicated area around the teat here and the back, we're going to change our location and come up to the front, and we're going to work on the hip or the shoulder up here. The shoulder is way too proud. You can see it looks like a muscle builder there. So we're going to knock that back in a little bit. But more importantly, we're going to get the knuckle joint put in around here, and we're going to point this toe. If you take a look at the finished one here, you'll see kind of what I mean. See how the shoulder is back in a little bit? This could likely even be knocked in more. What it does is it will emphasize the size of the belly. If you take the shoulder in and the hip back here in, then the belly protrudes, it comes out. So you can play around with that area, both front and back, as much as you want, depending on how much emphasis you want to put on how much belly you want. So now the knuckle for the joint here is established, and notice where the toe comes out. Okay, it comes out at an angle. So if I turn that upside down, you can see, you can't see it very clearly, but I have a mark in there pointed to the direction I wanted to have the foot roughly go to. And so then I give it a shape. So if you take a look at the shape of it, it comes around the back and up, and then a kind of a pointy toe. So that's the same thing as what we're going to establish on our work in progress here. So you can see where I've got the arrow is established. I've got the back of it rounded. So we're going to continue getting that shape going and getting this foot or hoof coming out. And the idea is eventually to have a little bit of a V up in that general area, so that we can get the split in the hoof. If I can put these kind of side by side. Now, can you see how much wood is removed here in order to make that toe come up? See how the toe comes up? It's a turned up toe, like the shoe on your boot. So the same thing is going to happen here. We're going to turn up the toe and remove a bit of the wood from behind the toe to emphasize the idea that the toe comes up. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll set up one foot here, and then we'll go from there. So first things first, I made the shape, and I put a pen mark all the way around the outside so that you could see the general shape. And I brought it to somewhat of a point at the front and just rounded out the heel in the back. And that was a straight up and down cut all the way up. Eliminate all the wood straight up and down. So we got flat sides all the way around. Now when you get this one done the way you like it, then you can pull a rod favorite and make a pattern for that. Get just a business card or a piece of stiff wood or stiff cardboard, and make that pattern, and then you can turn it and sit it on each one of the feet and get them all exactly the same. Okay, so if I can give you an idea, this is where how we started out. It was nothing done, so now I've turned up the edge at the front and given him an elf type slipper. You know how the toe on the elf comes up, so it's turned up. But if you notice, I've kept a pretty even flat spot all the way around. Okay, there's a flat spot all the way around, and then I've carved up and around, and it goes all the way up to just below where the ankle is going to be, because we got a hollow out below the ankle, or that joint. I don't know whether you call that an ankle or not, but it's got to go all the way around, and I'll turn that so that you can hopefully see it, that it went all the way around, right clean, even into the back. So a flat spot on the edge once the bottom has been established, and then just curve it all the way around. Fire that wood out. Alright, I'll leave that for now. Alright, so now if you take a look at the diagram here, you'll see that the scoop that I created underneath to make the toe go up, I removed a bit of wood in the front to turn up the toe. I still haven't shaped the curve of the toe yet, but or split it. That's all going to be done later. You'll notice that there's socks on this guy, and also that there's quite a knuckle joint here, and that knuckle joint, that's looking at it from one side, and this is looking at it from the other side, and you see that knuckle, it goes all the way around. There's a hollow below and a hollow above in order to create that knuckle. Remember, we left a substantial amount of wood in this area here, and that's to accommodate that knuckle joint. You've got lots of room to do that. But now you've got to make them all. If you notice, you got to make them, the two of them at the front at least, to be the same location, same height up. So you can use my old square method. I've always used a square to make a joint. So put the joint on and try and get them roughly at the same height. So then we can remove the wood below it and above it. So once you remove it straight through one way, then it's very easy to find it to make it match the other way, because the hollow will be in here in order to see where it has to go through the other way. So again, we'll make it square before we make it round. In other words, we'll make it two-dimensional before we make it three-dimensional. So just use either a high-sided gouge or a number 8 or 9 gouge, and it'll go through there. Try and get both the right size. It's ideal if you can get the correct size to do it. Just saves a lot of trimming up. So there it is.
Is that where you get eggnog from?
And so there it is, curved just the one way. So now it's easy to find where to curve it going the other way. Okay, so there it is. Can you see it squared around now? All squared around. So just got the general shape. So now it's just a question of shaping everything in to that, making it round, and then coming down from the top and shaping that in there as well. So we just hold it there for a couple of minutes. Did you want me to pass this around too, or?
Is it carved?
No, he hasn't showed any interest in carving yet. Okay, so there it is. And I wonder if I can get that. Okay, there it is, rounded. Just the knuckle joint is rounded. So now I'm going to work the foot or the hoof up to where that bottom hollow is there. Get that all smoothed out. So there it is with the bottom half of the hoof coming up and shaping into the hollow of the knuckle all the way around on the back as well. So you get that nice shape coming up and around. So that's the bottom half of the leg roughed out. No detail yet, not very smooth. Okay, so now we've got the bottom half all roughed out and generally shaped. So now we got to determine whether or not we want to have his belly or her belly stand out. And this guy looks like he's been doing a lot of weightlifting. Got a really heavy muscle in here, and I'd like to skinny that down quite a bit. And so I'm not going to be too afraid to take off some wood here on the outside so that I can give a bit better shape to it. Now, when I get down towards where the knuckle joint is here, it can either come out and around like that, or you could actually hollow it out a little bit towards the inside to get that swoop to come down to the outside of that knuckle joint where the hollow is. So that's kind of the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to use a 3/4 inch or 20 millimeter number 3 or number 5 and use it upside down and skinny that out. Get rid of some of that wood. And when I do that, you're going to see that you can maybe work on the front part a little bit too, but we'll do just one dimension first and then go to the next.
You're doing the side first.
I'm going to do the outside first. So there it is with a whack of wood removed. And all I did was I used this number 5 20 millimeter stew by, and I worked it up like this, up to get that shape and give it to me that nice round shape, and then I worked it down to the ankle and turned it over and used it this way on to get that curve in there, or the joint that comes down, or the joining onto the joint. Okay. Okay, so while you guys were out for coffee, I started to shape the other leg, the other front leg, and it's a little bit fatter than the other one, so I'll have to par it down a little bit. But the general shape is there, pretty close to the same size. I might have to adjust the size on the bottom a little bit. Okay, so now we have to work away at getting rid of some of the edges on the front here. So this shape on the outside here was established. So now we gotta kind of curve it, make this the center here your high point, and then curve it both ways and this is going to be rounded, and eventually it has to continue on down and go in to the side of the bell. The bell has to have a final point. The bell is wider facing than it is on the back, so we have to get rid of some wood on the back. So get your guesstimate going here as far as where the back of the bell should be, and then we can get rid of some of the material here on the back of that as well, and that gives us access then to shape a little bit of the underside of the lower neck and where this knee or this shoulder rather comes in. Alright, so we're just going to massage this a little bit, get it rounded, and likewise over here where the shoulder comes into the belly. Just do a little bit here and there, and I'll get rid of some of those ink marks. Okay, so there is how I had visualized how it should go, and you'll notice that on the side that has not been addressed, it's got a shoulder that comes more or less straight out and down, like a guy wearing a suit. But we want to make this a little bit of a slovenly guy. That's a Newfie expression, slovenly, where he's kind of droopy, so we rounded the shoulder here to give him a different look, and then brought it down, and maybe even could take off some more down here to give it a narrow shape so that the belly sticks out a little bit more. But then I rounded it over the back, and that's pretty tough to see. Anyway, rounded over the back, into the back here, and come down where the V notch, where I put the V tool in to clean that up. So it comes down and joins in at the knuckle joint down here. And then some of the material behind the bell was removed, and that will help create the bell itself. And then started to remove the material that come down between the shoulder and the belly. Get this kind of an evened out shape here, and then likewise up here where the top of the bell is and where the collar joins on. Still leave lots of collar, because remember we got to still drill a hole in here, and we can always shape the collar a little bit narrower if we have to, but the neck has to fit into the hole before we shape the collar. So next we're going to round over the bell and give it a little bit of a shape. So how I envision a bell is I envision it straight sides, and as you can see I've got straight sides all the way around, and I'm just going to knock off the corners. Now you can make it a rounder bell if you like, it's your call, but at least get rid of the sharp edges. It doesn't quite look right. Now more importantly than anything, we've got to get the clanger, and it's got to fit inside here. So if you've got the shape of the bell established, then you can take your V tool and remove some wood all around and get rid of this wood inside here, and that leaves the clanger hanging down. Okay, we'll just mess around with the bell a bit there now. Okay, here we go again. So what I've done is I've shaped it up and just put a little notch in underneath the collar. I knocked off the edge on both sides. I took and removed some wood all the way around on the inside, leaving the outside edge of the bell, and then left the clanger sitting stationary there. If you want to knock the wood down on the side, you can see where you can't see the clanger if you look straight on, but you could knock down the whole bottom surface of the bell to make the clanger hang down a little bit. Okay, and then harder to see there, but I kept it fairly flat across the back, the inside of the bell, and then hollowed out where the belly comes across in here. So that joins, or starts to join, where the legs join in, and the belly still has to hang down. The high point, or the low point, I guess you call it, of the belly is there. So we have to hollow out just a little bit on either side of the leg in order to make the leg form into the belly. Well, there it is, roughed out. So there's the one that's more completed, and so the knuckle joint is here, but if you take a look at that with respect, the front with respect to the back, his back hip and where that joint is in the back is up higher on the udder sac. It's up quite a bit, and the socks that I'm referring to are these socks here. Can I get that? Yeah, so here's the socks I'm referring to, and all they are is little V-cuts that are removed. So the whole trick is to just create the outside shape and then be able to come along and give it detail, including the notch in the front. The notch in the front, that's kind of a last thing to do, and if you want to shape it, curve it up more or whatever, you can do that. But the knuckle joint, we'll work on that next week. We'll work on this back foot, the back leg, and get that shaped. Give it a little bit more of a hollow and try and create this udder. We got to create the leg before we can create the udder. So we got to leave the material for the udder behind. Okay?
Udder?
The udder.